So that's pretty exciting. I do want to go back to the warm-ups, and my feeling is, and I've said this to people many, many times, I've seen people will be doing cleans, and then I'll say, okay, go get your bar, and then they go and pick it up and they reverse curl it. And I'm just like, wait a minute, just because you're cleaning up doesn't mean that you stop doing cleans. So the way I look at it is you must look at everything we do in the gym as an opportunity to practice something. If you make it your activity of daily life, then it becomes muscle memory. You don't have to think about it anymore. And that's what we want to do, is get something so skilled like walking that you don't have to think about it anymore. So never miss an opportunity to practice a movement.
Always.
Ever.
Right. Picking up plates that you're putting away.
Changing the plate.
Picking up the kid.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is you're doing. Yeah.
Picking up
Get
anything.
a good hip hinge. Stretch your hammies.
Yeah.
Load the hips.
Absolutely.
Set the back.
Right.
Do those
Get
things.
your back walking.
Get to a point where you don't have to think about it, but until you're there, think about it.
And,
be aware.
And the beauty of that is, if you set your back every time you go for a walk and you get your abs pulled in, you're actually strengthening. It's not super sexy, but it gives a super sexy result.
Right.
You know, you are strengthening the movements. I do have to say this, you referred to crossover symmetry as preparing the body to move. To me, crossover symmetry is practicing. You know, it is practicing good, solid movement that we're going to
totally
use
right.
in everything else.
It really is. Overall back control, yeah. It's
Everything
a lot of
is
practice.
practice.
Everything is practice. It really is. Every single day is practice. Even if we're in a training phase, you're still practicing.
Even in,
practice.
The only time we're not practicing is in competition.
Right. That's go.
And I have to say this about competition, because a lot of people are competing besides yourself. A lot of people are coming up. So competition, what makes it competition by definition is you're trying to beat somebody else.
Yes.
You're trying to go as fast and as heavy as you can, and you are actually trying to beat someone else.
Right.
If you're not trying to beat somebody else or yourself with like CrossFit Total is a competition, because you're trying to beat your score. Or if we're doing some sort of not hero rod, but a test WOD. Actually, even these benchmark WODs are not competition. They're just tests. But what I just want to say to everybody who wants to compete or thinking about competing, that there is nothing at stake. You know, you might come away with a trophy from a competition. At best, you're going to come away with experience.
Right. At
worst, you're going to come away with an injury. There is no injury worth. There's nothing at these competitions that are worth an injury. These are not the CrossFit Games.
No.
There are no sponsorships. There's no shit ton of money. There's no free gyms. There's no being Rich Froning. Unless you're going to the CrossFit Games, and I'm going to say go ahead and give it up. It's like a football player's got to give it everything they have, because they're making a crap ton of money, and they have to earn their money.
Right. We're doing this for fun.
It's for fun
we
and
compete
fitness
for fun.
and being good at life.
Yeah, it's a community builder. It's fun to go out and hang out with your gym and be at a local event for the day and have that fun. It's a blast. And if you're hurt, you're not having fun.
No, you're set back.
You're set back.
Your fitness goes down.
Your fitness goes down. You can't have fun. You can't train. Not only that, it messes with your head. There's a lot that goes on. Right.
Yeah.
It's not something that's worth going for. We want to avoid that as much as possible. And you brought up Rich Froning. I don't know if anybody knows, Rich Froning is the reason I'm in CrossFit. I fell in love with that guy, so I know a lot about him. But I got my man crush on Rich Froning, and that's okay. But Rich Froning is probably the biggest example of this philosophy of training, of this program: mechanics, consistency, and intensity. And it goes into everyone trying to get into a Rich's head. How does he beat everybody? How does he always win? How is he so freaking good? His answer is, I just beat people. I just beat him. He just beats people. But it's not that. He's so confident, and he just knows, he's practiced so much.
Right.
He practices more than he trains. He's so confident in his movement that he can just get up and go. He knows his capacity levels. Only because he's trained and he's practiced all these things left and right like crazy, that allows him to have that awareness in competition to just beat people.
Right.
It's really the secret.
Yeah.
Practice.
Practice. Yeah.
It's the secret.
Absolutely. And it is fun we have to test. And a lot of times we look at tests as a competition.
Right.
These benchmark WODs, but that's what they are, they're tests. And even local competitions should be seen more as tests than competition. We look like Festivus. Festivus is, you want to give it everything you got, but when you take a test, you also want to do the best you can within taking a test in school. So, and then you take what you get from it. I've seen people do a competition and come away going, the programming sucks, or, why wasn't I ready for these things? Well, because you didn't take the time to practice what you needed to practice, fundamentals, basic things. You chose not to practice what you were doing, so let's come back and learn from it. My feeling is, and I wrote this article yesterday, unless you learn something from every single training session, you're not paying attention.
Right.
You're simply not paying attention, because there's something to learn from everything.
Every day.
Because we're not perfect, and God bless us.
Oh my gosh.
Who would want to be? That's no fun.
I'm still learning about my squat.
Yeah.
Left and right.
Me too.
Right.
Yeah, that's a complex movement.
Very.
Yeah. I have to say this one last thing, that another illustration of intensity that comes before practice and consistency, and that's on the rower.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, big shout out for everybody who came to the rowing clinic, and we're going to offer it again. People forget that, to me, next to the snatch, rowing is the most CNS involved movement that we do in the gym.
I would agree.
Because there's so many moving parts that we have to have timing and consistency and strength. It's all the things.
Lots of repetition is happening.
Lots of repetition. And we find we just go straight for intensity, and when reality is we have to slow things down, smooth them out, and then go faster again. The difference between the snatch and the rowing is that you don't fail at the row. Right, you can fail at a snatch and it gives you feedback like, you need to fix something.
Right.
With the row, there's no failing. You can just hack at that all day long if you wanted to, till your back starts hurting really bad.
Right.
But with that in mind, I would say rowing is more complex than a snatch, in that you don't get that, you screwed up.
I would agree, and I would almost go so far to say I'd rather see someone do a bad snatch than bad rowing form.
Right.
Only because of repetition. Bad snatch, we're going to go, that was bad.
Yeah,
we're going to know right away.
Lower the weight, let's settle back,
bring
let's
it back
drill
down.
some skills.
Right. On the rowing machine,
you
what
just
can
keep
we do?
Going.
Yeah, and you're hitting so many reps with that rounded back. Or your knees are tracking super far forward.
Or the timing is off.
The timing is off. All these things are literally transferring over to other movements. So we talked earlier about practicing, these other movements and how that'll improve other areas of your fitness. Well, if we do practice poor form and technique in some areas, that's going to transfer over into other areas of our fitness too. Right. And we want to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't practice till you're perfect. You practice perfect.
You practice perfect.
You have to practice perfect, because you'll never be perfect. But you have to practice good form. It can't just be hacking away at reps.
Absolutely.